All right. I think we're ready to go. We're good to start. I want to say everyone at home and hopefully Loopy that's joining me, of course. We're ready. Hope you guys are ready to listen to an amazing cast that's about to happen. Episode 2 with your wonderful host, Monkey, aka Monk3Y, and of course my lovely co-host, Loopy. Loopy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. And by the way, this is an amazing cast. Like, I love this game that's clearly in front of us. Nice mess up there. This is a podcast,
There
not
you
a
go.
normal cast.
Yes, it's a very good podcast. Of course, having us doing this lovely podcast for you guys, we're going to make sure that you guys are entertained at home. We're going to give you as much information as possible. So please, if you guys haven't already, you can watch episode 1 that has been released in Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. It's literally everywhere. And hopefully, we're going to be probably passing it on to Instagram as well. We're going to try to branch out as much as we can, as far as we can. So if you guys already missed that first episode and maybe you guys want to have like a little summary of what's going on, we play Xbox. We do Xbox on Siege, and pretty much we run our own community that's called Collective Esports. So we do everything when it comes to Siege. We're trying to branch out to different communities and different events, but right now we're focused on Xbox right now. Okay, so just in case you guys missed that, please hop back into that, guys. It's, again, behind the call out. If you guys don't know this already, you guys are at and are listening to behind the call out. So, Loopy, little topics we're going to probably do talking about today. What is the second week of our beautiful qualifiers of collective? So we're going to be talking about that for sure.
Yeah, no, and some of the games have been a little bit more blowy. There's been a lot more blowouts than I've expected there to be in general. Like there are several like 7-0s on the list. I do know one of the 7-0s on the list was due to a forfeit, if I remember correctly, which is just unfortunate. But overall, we have one, two, three, I think three like 7-0s and two 7-1s, which is pretty crazy to be honest. It's not what I was expecting at all. We talked a lot of these games being just significantly closer than they were. I don't think we either of us predicted a single 7-0. I think we might have think the closest we got was a 7-1. Could be wrong on that. Someone check me.
Yeah, no, I'll double check that in a few minutes. But yes, that's definitely one of the topics we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about the close games. We're going to talk about the blowouts. We're going to talk about the MVP of the weeks. We're going to be talking about the again the closest game of the week. We're going to be also making predictions. Going to be backtracking our own predictions that we had before. We're going to see if we were actually pretty close, which we probably weren't. So we're going to go back to those as well and review those. Of course, the question of the day, we're going to go back to that, and also the question of the answer of the day from last week's podcast. We're going to be going back into that one. And then it's going to be this big episode is going to be pretty much about just touching upon the qualifiers, just making sure what's going on, keeping you guys informed of what's happening, and of course maybe some sneak peeks into season 3, of course. So that's what's going to be happening in today's podcast. If you guys are ready for that, but yeah, to start off, Loopy, let's just begin and get off. Go straight into the mayhem. Let's go straight into the bracket. Excuse me, into the bracket. And as you can see, you guys at home, you guys can see it on your screen, fully. But if people are listening to the podcast, we had Witch Doctor Gaming going against who was it? I think it was Aviate that went against Aviate, and they 7-0 them. So that was definitely none of our predictions there, Luke. I think you made that prediction. What was the prediction you had for that game?
God, we made so many, and it's just been with Mother's Day being in the mix as well. For those of you listening, just recording has been a little difficult, and so I don't actually think I have those predictions on hand right now. It just kind of got away from me.
Oh, we did. Probably have to pull those out. But if anything, we'll probably. I think the prediction like I think you had for that game, I think it was 7-5 though, if I'm correct. I think it was 7-5. I think you had, of course, you had Witch Doctor winning that one. Yes, it was 7-5. You had Witch Doctor having that prediction. Um, so you predicted 7-5, and they said, hey, they said, hey, let's go 7-0.
Tell me about it. I mean, like, both teams have really good players, but I mean, the one thing I did notice because have been watching the results, like the screenshots and all of those great things, is that the thing I saw was on Doctor. Really, there was nobody lacking in kills, which I know for Witch Doctor they just have a little bit more of a heavy support. where, they're not really going out for those frags. They're more just staying closer to site and playing time, playing objective, not really going for those frags. But the one thing I noticed on the screenshot was pretty much everyone on side of Witch Doctor Gaming was keeping up with frags, even their more heavy supportive players. And that's just not something you see a lot of times from a team like this. I mean, these types of teams work heavy supports are instrumental to Siege. They are, if you have a really strong support, even if they don't get a lot of frags, they can lead to a lot of frags. And I think that's always an important distinction to make is your kills as an individual player don't always matter. It more matters on sort of how you help the team, whether it be you deny that last second diffuser, or you're the one holding. A meme that me and my friends used to talk about is the hardest job on the team is holding X. It's the person who can stick that risky plant. It's the support player, just because they're not getting a lot of kills doesn't mean they're not helping the team. And sometimes the support player can be one of the strongest members of the team, but they still only have like one or two frags. But in this game, from the screenshots I'm seeing, no one really lacked. And so these really strong, heavy support players, and then have them getting frags like they are, just clearly showed that they were just totally on their game. And that was exciting to see. I definitely, when I saw that screenshot, was very. I sort of wish I was watching that game because I'm sure it was kind of insane to watch. It's just not something usual.
No, that is definitely correct. And again, you guys at home that are probably listening onto these wonderful podcasts, but yeah, if you guys don't have the visual on your screen, then yes, it was Witch Doctor taking over on Border. They won 7-0 across. I'm going to give you a little description. I'm not going to tell you who went fragged out and all that stuff because this matchup was pretty, kind of lopsided, of course. But the frags that Loopy's talking about is just literally 9 kills, 4 kills, 5 kills, 5 kills. They just literally right next to each other. And AVA was trying their best. They were fighting it off as much as they can as well. It's just they couldn't capitalize, excuse me, on holding the fuser down and making sure they actually roam clear as well. And that was one of the things that they had to manage as well. And again, with AVA, they had 9 kills, 4 kills, 2 kills, 2 kills, and 2 kills. It's just again across the board, the frags were not at their disposal as Witch Doctor was, as Witch Doctor was controlling. But at the same time, it really came down to a lot of the planting for that game. So it really determined of that. And again, on Border, something that you really need to win. You need to win those plants. You need to win those controls, and that's exactly what Witch Doctor was doing. And that's it kind of pushed them on to 7-0. So definitely kudos to them.
I'm telling you, all jokes aside, holding X is one of the hardest jobs in the entire game because in those like 1v2 situations, and if you even have the slightest fear that your teammate's not covering you and you pull up, that's not a plant down. And if that plant doesn't go down, then maybe you only have 20 seconds left. Then smoke had time to rotate, and now all of a sudden you're screwed. Holding X and having faith in your teammates, planting that diffuser, is truly one of the most intense things in the game. And I know that sounds crazy because it's like, oh, just plant the diffuser, right? But that fear, that adrenaline can get to you. And if you can't either control that adrenaline and push it down and say, "No, this is what's needed of me," or you say, "No, I'm in the middle of a smoke and I'm gonna die, but I have enough time to get the plant off." The plant is worth your life. Like these type of situations, and a really strong support who understands the timings and sort of how long they have. How many ticks of smoke would it take to down me? Am I far enough along in the plant to stop it? These questions are running through your head at a million miles an hour. And if you don't have that sort of heads up, play in your own head, you don't have that like knowledge and whatever, then you can make the wrong decision. Or if you just don't have that faith in your teammates because you're scared that a C4 is coming, even someone says, okay, I'm watching below, but you're scared that maybe they're not, or hey, I'm watching this angle, and someone you hear someone round the corner. I've had times where I'm planting and I hear someone rounding the corner, but before they down me, my teammate downs them. And I held the plant. And that is such an important concept. And I feel like I'm not saying nobody, but I'm saying I don't think a lot of people truly understand, unless you sort of hit that comp level, understand this true stress behind holding that diffuser and planting.
No, I definitely agree with that, Loopy, and that's one of the biggest things that we need to definitely point out. And moving on to the next one because we don't want to to hold too much on Witch Doctor. And the thing about Witch Doctor, you also got to know, guys, as well, is that they did get a bye week just because of the fact that they were supposed to face Prime Elite for their second week in their second matchup. But the thing is, Prime Elite did sadly withdraw. I mean, that gave Witch Doctor their bye week right there. So now they have to wait for the next opponent, which is probably going to be in between of Unit Gaming, I think, if I'm correct, and Farside Bravo. So it's going to be one of those guys that have to face. Well, we'll probably see them in week 3. So sadly for us at the moment, we're not going to see them playing until week 3. So again, but when the podcast comes in, probably for next week, you'll probably hear a result. You'll hear a prediction from us. Just stay tuned from there for their games in case you guys are fans for Witch Doctor, of course. But we're not going to waste any time. I'm going to jump on to the next game, and that was Tag a Team versus Elite Nova. And that's one I actually predicted, and I said 7-4. And again, that turned out just like Witch Doctor, and that went into 7-0. And again, a coincident, of course, they went into Border as well. For this game, I don't know if you've seen it, Loop. You've seen the screenshots, if anything, for this game. Have you?
I have. I did look at all of them. I'm just sort of
Go ahead and you can actually just see the kills and the differences there. They were actually massively different than how we saw in Witch Doctor's game there. But Tag Team was not playing. They were not playing any type of game. They were actually coming to just annihilate Elite Nova, and it came to frags, and that was again talking about the frags here. Were 9 kills, 11 kills, 4 kills, 7 kills, and 4 kills. While Elite Nova only had 3. They had 3 players with 3 kills. They had 2 kills and then a 1 kill. This one came down to no plants going down. I think only like once. The rest literally came from fragging out and taking out the team there. So anything you got to say there, Felipe?
I mean, just like the quite opposite we talked about with Witch Doctor, those plants and all those objective plays are important. But as you sort of alluded to, if you can kill them, nothing it doesn't matter. If you can kill them all, it doesn't matter. And I think that's exactly what we saw in this one. Is we just saw, as you said, I don't even think there's any other way to describe it, but an annihilation. Like we just they just had their number. They just they just had Elite Nova's number. They just were able to shut down every single one of their fraggers, shut down their pushes, shut down their defense. Pick apart their defenses. Tag team did start on attack, so more it was they were able to pick apart their defenses, and I definitely think that looking at that screenshot, I don't know if they streamed it. Honestly, just don't. But if they didn't, if I'm another team, if I am looking down the barrel of Tag a Team, which they are playing next week Reborn. They're playing Reborn. If I'm Reborn and I'm looking down the barrel of that screenshot, I'm sitting there looking and being like, Jesus Christ, let's not take them to Border. Let us, God, not take them to Border. Because that is the type of situation where you look at that scoreboard and you're just like, that's their map. Either you have to be as confident on Border as they are, or just ban it. Just ban it. I don't really think you have much other option with looking down a barrel of that kind of scoreboard without having to see it. Because obviously, seeing a game played out and just seeing a screenshot give you very different perspectives. Because when you watch a team play, you can be like, okay, the reason why they was it 7-0, yeah, it was a 7-0. The reason that why they 7-0'd them was because they just had their number. It's not that their strategies were crazy or anything like that. It was just, Elite Nova was having a bad game and Tag Team was having an amazing game. And like there are situations like that, and those types of things do result in 7-0s. But when you're just looking at just a screenshot, you sort of have to look at those kinds of heavy frags, the 7-0. You really just have to sit there and be like, okay, we get it. You're really good at Border. So we're not going to go there. I don't know about you, but that's at least the way I read that.
Good, yeah, no, definitely, man. And for that lopsided again on the Border side, it's just Borders again. It's like one of those like Oregon back in the day when it used to be like go those were good teams go to die and stuff like that, and that's exactly how Border is becoming in a certain term. So if you're gonna take to a team, you know, take a team of Border, you gotta make sure you do your homework on them for sure because it can definitely turn into a slaughterhouse in the wrong term of things, you know. But going into the next one, obviously, Tag Team is going to be moving on. They're going to be pretty much just going into facing their next team of the bracket. And then, of course, when you look at the bracket, guys, uh, you're going to be seeing Tag Team is going to be going against Reborn eSports. Reborn hasn't played a single game just yet, so we'll just have to wait and see how they participate against them. But again, Reborn does have a lot of powerhouse, players. So we're just going to see how they play out. Again, it is going to be matched up this week. So again, when this podcast comes out right now, so far none of their game has been scheduled or even been talked about just yet. But hopefully by the next time the podcast comes out, we'll probably get a result for you guys or even a scheduled date. So you guys can stay tuned for that one. And of course, after this, we're going to be doing what is it? I think it's 2 more games after the Tag Team and the Reborn game. Then every game will be streamed from there. So it'll be I think if I'm correct, the third round for these guys. But as of right now, Tag Team's gonna be moving on. Elite Nova sadly will be dropping out of the race here, and hopefully to see their story another day. But jumping into the next competition, we're gonna be talking about Extinction Gaming, and that's Astro Esports as well. And for this prediction, actually, Lupe, it was for you to make the call on that one, and you actually didn't give a prediction, which was the fact that you just didn't know the teams. But it was funny is because this is actually the closest game of the week that we're going to be giving to it, and that was actually Extinction Gaming taking it 8-7 in this one. So them taking 8-7, that's our closest matchup, our closest, Loopy, and you can go ahead and talk about that one, buddy.
So 8-7, closest game, and if you just look at the sheer frag numbers, it is definitely like crazy. I mean, let me put it this way: one, two, three, four, 5 different people dropped double digits. We had two on the side of extinction because they were the ones who won. Yes, they were the ones who won. On the side of extinction, we had two. We had 18 and 18. We had and then on the side of Astro, we had one on 15, one on 14, and one on 10. That's just crazy. Like two people hitting 18 on the same team, like on the same team. In 15 rounds, the sheer possible number of kills, considering if they were to just get ace after ace after ace, like the hypothetical max number of kills one player could get is 15 rounds, 5 kills, which comes out to, I think, 75. They had 36 combined. Combined, they had more or about half of the maximum about amount of kills. And that's not including rounds won by not by fragging, won by diffuser or timeouts or any of those things. Like that's insane that two players were sort of able to combine for 36. I mean, congratulations to them. It's on screen for those, but those of you who can't see it, it is Liquid and a Miss. And they absolutely killed it. Congratulations to them. And they played on Villa. They played on Villa, which is a very interesting map. It's definitely when it came out with Maestro and Alibi, it was put immediately into Pro League, and it definitely took teams a little bit to warm up to it. And still to this day, it's not super popular because most people kind of agree there's only really two viable sites, those two top floor sites. Um, but I think it's an interesting map because it has so much vertical play. Almost all of the floors are destructible and all these things, and from the looks of it, I'm assuming I'm assuming that there was just a lot of play from that because of all of the vertical destructibility, you can sort of force these defenders into corners or into kill boxes or the attackers into these little kill boxes and just pick people off. I mean, it's an interesting map, and to drop that many kills on that map. The other thing about it is it's such a roamer friendly map. So here we are with 36 kills, a roamer heavy map with a high destructibility count. I can only imagine what sort of crazy things went down on both teams. I mean, both teams. What do you think? What's your opinion of Villa? Because I personally really enjoy Villa, where I think it's just a fun map, and I think it produces interesting games.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on the Villa part, just because the Villa on itself, it's very wide and broad. You can definitely push from different angles. You can have like 2 to 1 roamer at a time, 3 in sight. if need be. When you're defending, it can really change a lot of the tide, especially for the attackers, just because the attackers really need to actually focus and drone a lot of the tight corners to just make sure they can probably just clear out a room. And it's just you need a nomad at all time for this map. Like that's just what it is. Like you need a nomad at all times or a gridlock or claymores, whichever. But at the same time, you're gonna need a flank drone or something going down because the flank is crucial in Villa. And again, if you see the kills with 18, 16, 7, yes, though that's what it means as well. You're probably getting these kills from flanks. You're getting these kills as a defender, as a roamer. So it can really change the tide a lot on Villa. So that's why I understand why 8-7, because Villa is a map that is not like, hey, you win these amount of rounds on attack, you're gonna win the game. Like like Coastline, if you go on attack first or you go defense first, you're gonna be like more of a map sided, affair. But no, it's not. It's not gonna work like that. Villa is gonna be fair for everybody there, and it's based on team chemistry. Team knowledge is all about that. So 8-7 on this map, especially versus two exact um, crucial teams. Again, Extinction and Astro, very amazing games and amazing teams. So I definitely understand that. And I hate to see one of them leave, and that's going to be Astro Esports. That's going to be leaving us for that one. But again, an intense game. And again, Extinction Gaming is going to move on. They're going to be facing Fallen Pharaohs on their next approach of the week. Astro Esports, like I said, is going to be falling sadly. But again, if you're a big fan of Astro Esports, they competed against Extinction Gaming. You never know; they might compete in the future. So definitely want to wait and see how their journey actually focuses on. But if you're fans of Extinction Gaming, we're going to see how they go against Fallen Pharaohs, and of course their next matchup of Esports and Tag a team. If they do win against Fallen Pharaoh, that's going to be a tough matchup as well. Um, so they're going to have a tough road trip. If you can definitely focus on it going ahead. And we're going to move on to the next matchup, and that's actually one of them that just happened. Literally, I told you before we're recording on Monday. This matchup did happen yesterday on Sunday. So this is going to be Lunar Esports going against Bearded Dragon. So that's going to be Bearded Dragon Gaming, BDG, just in case we use that initial, just in case for short. BDG's they did win their game 7-2, and I actually made that prediction. That's actually one of our closest predictions, I think. I made a prediction of them going 7-3 and they went actually 7-2. So they actually just went one-sided, just down one. And Loopy, you do have the scoreboard for that one as well, so you can go ahead and tell everybody at home what happened in that one.
So the scoreboard definitely we had just first off, we had one player just running amok, and that's Glitzy. Glitzy dropped 16 kills for those who can't see. He dropped 16 kills. And the next highest in the entire lobby for frags was 7. Now we had a few people at 7. But actually yeah, so we had 2 people at 7, one on each team, but Glitzy dropped 16, which just goes to show it's either one of their greatest strengths or one of their greatest weaknesses, depending on how you look at it. They have one really, really strong fragger. And having a really, really, really strong player and being able to rely on them can be great. But the issue comes from that is what happens if they have a bad game. Because we're all going to have a bad game. And the issue is if you rely on one player so heavily, you run the risk of that bad game being finals. And all of a sudden, that first place is snatched from you. And so, whereas obviously, congratulations to them for winning 7-2 and Glitzy being that star player on their team. Congrats to him. Uh, all that stuff, full props or whatever. But I do think that that is something that Bearded Dragon has to look out for. The map does appear to be Clubhouse from the screenshot. I can pull up the official uh thing, but it does. I think it was. Let me find it.
Yes, it was. If you're looking for the scoreboard, that's what you're looking for.
No, I'm looking. I was just looking, making sure it was Clubhouse. I
Yes, it
found
was
the score.
Clubhouse. It's Clubhouse
Uh,
7-2.
yeah. Um, basing that off the screenshot. Look at that. No, I know what walls look like. I know what walls look like. Know the maps that well. It's what happens when you play this game for 5 years, 4 years, however old it is. Um,
To mind.
Yeah, right. Uh, Clubhouse also being a very old map. Now, obviously, it is technically a release map, but it got a pretty significant change a couple years ago. So it's not quite the same map that it was when it released, but it is one of the older maps in the entire game. And I think it goes to show because I think for a lot of times people sort of what you said the opposite of with Villa. There's no one strategy that you live or die by on Clubhouse. I think that's one of the more unique things about it is despite its old age, you still see different strategies. For the most part, you see the same three sites. You see CC, you see CCTV cache, you see armory lockers, and you see bedroom. You don't really see much variation off of that, but I mean, no one plays bar. Let me just put this. I'm sorry, but no one plays bar. I wish people would play bar, but no one does. Um, I more want to see it because I think it'd be interesting. Not that I think it's really the smartest plan from a strategic point of view, but I think it'd be fun, especially to cast. Heck yeah! But because of the fact that no one plays it, you can pretty much predict which site they're gonna play. But at the same time, you can't. Especially between CCTV and especially between cache and armory lockers, there's really it's not armory locker, it's armory church or something, whatever, it's armory. Armory lockers is border. The thing between cache and armory is that they're both pretty equally viable from both sides. If you bring the right operators for either site, you can win the site pretty easily on attack. Same goes on defense. You bring the right defenders, use the right strategy, you can win. Both sites are pretty equally balanced to each other. And the thing is that you can run sort of that hybrid in the middle attack and just be like, okay, this would work for either one. But then you always got to look out for that oddball uh bedroom pick. And that oddball bedroom pick, I've seen it start out a game several times. And a lot of times, the teams that start with that bedroom pick, because you can sort of see on the side of the attackers that they are either building that hybrid, or maybe they're building more towards cash, or they're building more towards armory, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the bedroom pick's in there, and they don't have a Zofia. And the defenders brought a castle to protect the bandit. And it's all of a sudden in this situation as an attacker, like, how do we deal with that? Because we didn't bring a Sophia, we didn't bring an Ash, so you either gotta burn like a Habana. You have to either burn a lot of utility to get that castle open, or you're just not gonna have to. You're not gonna get that castle open, and you're gonna hopefully either have to beat the bandit tricking, or kill him. There's your options get significantly lessened if you don't bring that ranged soft breacher, and it's so that bedroom pick is always sort of has to sit in the back of your mind, sort of being like, will they go bedroom first or will they go bedroom second? You know, they win armory, and so then you're sitting there like, okay, are they gonna go bedroom or cash? Or maybe they even lost armory, and you're sort of like, okay, because all three of these sites are fairly equally viable. Not a lot of teams sort of bash their head against a single site. They keep moving. They move sites. They switch sites. They don't really stem too much on the one site, and it definitely makes for an interesting game despite its age. Despite the map's age, the map still continues to feel fresh, and I think that's beautiful.
No, I definitely agree with it. It comes to the beautifality of how old this map is. But that being said, no, these guys really put up a fight for that one. Bearded Dragons, they moved on. Obviously, they're going to be facing Delta Esports for their next bracket of the week, of course.
The next game, if I remember correctly, is the next map was Mishmash Gaming or MMG versus and this is by the way, this is the last match of oh no, never mind, the
Yes.
extinction. Yeah.
The Extinction game was the last one of that first bracket. Right now, we were talking about Bearded Dragons. That's when they beat, obviously, Lunar Esports 7-2. They moved on to face Delta Esports now for their second week. And then the next jumping onto the topic is going to be MMG Void versus Gruesome Esports, and that's the one that you predicted, of course, for that one. And this is actually where our MVP of the week is. You predicted MMG going to 7-3 and taking the victory there on Border, but now they proved to be different, and they actually won 7-1 on Border. And of course, I'll let you discuss it, but the MVP of the week is here, and he's the one that's going to be the shine of the star. So you can go ahead, Loopy, and just talk about this game and just talk about how lovely Border is.
So Border, we've talked about it now twice. Border is a very popular pick of a map. So there's not much there to be said that we haven't already said. So I'm not going to dwell too much about the map, but I will say this. Like you said, we have our MVP of the week, which is Tizzy. He had 17 frags and only 2 deaths. Had an 8.5 KD ratio, which is just insane. And I think it goes to show exactly what I did talk about when I made that prediction in the first place. MMG is one of those unique teams that you can't nail them down. They're gonna be the weird oddball team that comes out with these unique strategies, and it's just sort of who they were in season 2, and I can only imagine, especially looking at both Tizzy's score and just the scoreboard in general, that I'm assuming they're gonna keep that ball rolling, that they're just playing those weird angles, they're gonna play those interesting strategies that maybe you just weren't prepared for because, like, who does that? Like, it's those moments when you're playing Siege. For those of us who play Siege, which I'm hoping is a lot of you, those moments where you're just playing a game of ranked or something, and you're just sort of like, why are you right there? You're weird. Like those kinds of comments. And that's just what MMG relies on. It's how they play. And because of that, I definitely think teams going into games versus them have to expect the weird. They have to expect the crazy. They have to expect the run out they have to expect the 1v3 run out. Why would he run out in a 1v3? And it's like, well, why not? You have to expect these weird things. And I think that they G6 just got caught off guard. I don't really I can't think of any other reason. I think they just got caught off guard because as we talked about, Border's a pretty it's getting kind of stale. Some people would even argue that it is stale. So the fact that not only did you manage to win 7-1 on Border, but then on top of it, have someone drop 17 kills with only dying twice, you're doing something right. And I think it is that just weirdness that MMG brings to comp. And it's amazing to watch. I'm serious. They're one of my favorite teams to cast. I do have that bias. They're one of my favorite teams to cast. So that's sort of what I'll say about that one. So congratulations to you, Tizzy, MVP of the week. You deserve it. Absolutely. You played your heart out that game.
Definitely kudos to him, and of course, we're definitely gonna be shouting him out. Hopefully next week we'll see how it goes. But MMG Void taking over Gruesome on 7-1 on Border, like we talked about. Now MMG Void is going to be moving on and going to be facing Hazmat Gaming. So we're gonna see how that goes next week. Probably give a prediction in a couple minutes. But again, 7-1 is a very standard point, and especially on Border for a map that it's kind of technically, like I told you before, it's like the old Oregon and stuff like that. So it's definitely a good way to showcase how good you are in this map. So definitely shout out to Tizzy and of course player of the week. But moving on to the next topic and everything like that, guys, we're going to be probably talking about the next. That's awesome. We'll probably talk about the next competition, the next matchup as well for the next weeks that are going to be coming. So I guess you guys can know what's going on with the brackets. So if you everybody at home, you guys can literally see the bracket for yourself. But people that are listening, yes, it's going to be Prime Elite versus Witch Doctor. But I already told you guys before that Witch Doctor took the W on that one just because Prime Elite has forfeit. So they're going to be waiting for their next competition. And their next competition for next week, not the week that's now following, the next week will be either Farside Gaming Bravo or Team Unit Gaming. So we're gonna
Now
see who
I'm
wins
gonna
that one. Yeah,
gonna
go ahead.
hop in there. I'm gonna hop in on that one.
Okay.
Monkey, because you are who you are, is Farside Bravo ready? Are they ready? For those of you who don't know, Monkey runs Farside Alpha, and I'm pretty sure you just run Farside as a whole, if I remember correctly.
Seven
I
Far Side of the Hole as well.
Yeah, but so I'm asking, do you think your team's ready? Are you ready?
um, me just coaching the team and helping them with strats as much as I can and not physically playing for them. If I would have to say if they're ready for Team Unit, if I want to do predictions now, yeah, I think they're pretty much ready. I've seen Team Unit play. I'll let you know themselves. I've done the VOD for these guys. I just gave them the homework. I want to see how, and I let them handle the rest. I technically think they're ready. I probably see Team Unit. taking like 3 rounds, maybe even 4 on Farside Bravo, but I do see 7-4 happening from Team Unit. The only thing that the Team Bravo is worried about is Witch Doctor Gaming. Obviously, 7-0ing the first team, getting a free dub the second week. Witch Doctors right now is in a good cruising match, momentum. So that's going to be the struggle that I definitely see they're going to be facing. But for Team Unit Gaming, I do see that happening for sure. 7-3, 7-4. So definitely a good point to push out.
I definitely had to hop in and ask you that question, being your team and everything. Oh man, I actually can't wait to see you guys play again. I always love casting your games. You know that the friendship runs deep. Friendship runs deep. Now that is
Yes, it
something.
does.
That's
All the way
something
to
I.
season 1.
Yeah, that's the thing is me and Monkey are some of the. I think I did touch on this briefly, but we are two of the oldest players in collective in general, or two oldest people. I'm not really a player anymore, but that's beside the point. I'm sort of taking on this extra stuff, this fun stuff. I'm head of casting. I'm doing the podcast. I'm whatever. Took on all this extra stuff, and I'm okay with that. It's fun. I get to enjoy all the aspects of Siege without the headache. Because we all know that this game is a headache sometimes.
It definitely is that. That is definitely something that that is the headache of the community. But other than that, we know it's fun. We do it the best we can, and that's exactly why we do the podcast. It's a million time fun, and give you guys the information. So that we just love doing. And if our voice is known, let's just be known for doing podcasts as well. Stuff, Jesus. Um, but no, definitely moving on to the topic at hand. Yes, Witch Doctor Gaming is gonna have to wait for one of these lovely guys to finish their game. And of course, I already gave you the prediction already for Farside, 7-3. But we'll talk about the predictions in a couple of minutes as well. But next matchup after that is going to be Reborn eSports versus Tag a Team. Right now, nobody's waiting for them as how Witch Doctor is waiting for their next competition. So it's going to be Reborn versus Tag a Team. We'll see how that goes. Loopy, if you really wanted to start predictions now, go ahead, buddy. You can actually talk about the Reborn and Tag a Team. You can talk about who's going to you think is going to win that matchup.
Well, okay. So if Reborn is definitely an interesting team, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But the one thing I do want to quickly touch on is Reborn had a bye last week. They didn't have a round one game in general. They were just sort of so this is their first match, which is obviously Tiger Team had a match last week. So that is something that needs to sort of be said explicitly and all of those fun things. So we did talk briefly. Once again, go back and listen to the first podcast. So I won't delve too deep into it on this one. Reborn doesn't have that starting momentum. They're going into this kind of completely raw. I'm not saying it's completely dry because I'm assuming they've been scrimming, they've been practicing, they've been putting in their homework and all of that, all of that fun stuff, but they haven't played a game yet. So that is something to keep in mind. Whereas Tag Team, not only did they win, not only have they come off of a game, not only have they won 7-0, and it was pretty dominant. It was a pretty dominant 7-0. So Reborn definitely has to keep that in mind, especially with the fact that they haven't played yet. So with that, all of that information in mind, I definitely know a lot of the players on Reborn, but but I do know from personal experience, long story, not really relevant, that a lot of their players, especially their IGL, are sort of new to the team. The team itself is old, but the players that are playing in these qualifiers and therefore playing in season three and all of that fun stuff are fairly new. So we have Tag a Team who came off this dominant win that clearly know what they're doing, clearly have played with each other for a long time, and then we're going against these Reborn, which they are good players. Don't get me wrong, and natural synergy is a real thing, but I think that that's what it comes down to. How good is Reborn's either natural synergy or what have they been doing in the off season and all that fun stuff to gain synergy with each other? And I think it definitely is going to come down to that trade off. So if I had to make a prediction, I think that we're going to get a close game, but I don't but I think Tag Team just has the momentum, and I think that that's what's gonna pull them out. So I'm gonna probably say it's Tag Team winning. I'm gonna say 7-4. I'm gonna go a little in the middle. Not a Reborn pushing back with the 4 rounds, which is pretty good, right? But not a blowout, but also not an 8-7, for example. I'm expecting a 7-4 in favor of tag a team, and that's sort of my logic for it. The next setup, the next set of games, I'm gonna pass over to my partner Monkey, but I will just quickly give a statement of Extinction versus Fallen Pharaohs. Fallen Pharaohs did not play a game last week, and besides that, Monkey, you can predict.
Yeah, so it was actually a great prediction from Reborn Esports and Tugga team. Really good job for that one. So I can't wait to really watch that one. It's gonna be one of the, I guess, fan favorites to watch. But for Extinction and Fallen Pharaohs, yes, for Extinction they have been a very good close runner. They have definitely wanted to pursue this Master League for a very long time, and seeing how they went against a high tier team and beating Astro Esports 8-7, I definitely see that they have the capacity to face Fallen Pharaohs. Now, Fallen Pharaohs has been a team that, if you want to say their name properly, they have been in season one and they have fallen away from Collective for a big while now. So, seeing them come back into competitive scene, it's going to be a very big trip. And the thing is about that one is Extinction Gaming has been in the scene for a very long time. So, it's going to be pretty much based on, it's going to be based on practice. It's going to be based on training. It's going to be based on maps, and it's going to be based on just knowledge as well. Because now Pharaoh has to pretty much bring back what they know from season one and bring that back into this now qualifiers, while Instinction already knows. So it's kind of like old school versus new school type of vibe now. So if Extinction can show how new school is handling things now, it might be an Extinction game. But if Pharaoh can say, hey, we can adapt to all this new stuff, even though we're from the old school term, we could definitely handle. So I'm going to be saying, though, sadly, just for Pharaoh, I do love how the Pharaoh gang is getting back together. But I do see that Extinction, just because they have that momentum, they have the players that can carry on. I feel like, personally, I do see Extinction taking that game. But it's going to be a close one, and I feel like it's going to be 7-5 on that one for Extinction Gaming versus Fallen Pharaohs.
So no, you're not saying overtimes. Extinction's game was the only game to go into overtime last week. So you're gonna say that this time they're gonna avoid it, huh?
Yeah,
Hence your prediction.
I definitely see the avoiding on that one. Again, Astro Esports being known for a team that can definitely take the teams to the ringer, and if they can hold their own against Astro, even if it was Villa, I definitely see, you know, Extinction waking up and snapping out of it. But the only reason we might lose is if, again, the Pharaoh brings out their old tricks. That's the only thing I'm saying. That's why I said I see 7-5, just because of the fact that I feel like new schools can definitely overtake old school for sure. Um, that's the only reason why I'll probably say that. But
Makes sense. Makes
it
sense.
could definitely change. Who knows? They could definitely show off. Pharaoh could definitely bring what they got, but who knows? Uh,
I've definitely always loved the concept of old school versus new school. Like, who wins?
yeah, so that's a perfect example right there of who's going to be taking it from that. But moving on to the next one, it's going to be Delta Esports versus Bearded Dragons. So again, BDEG, excuse me. So Loopy, as obviously saw their game already before, 7-2. We haven't seen Delta Esports play a single game just yet. So again, what do you think from that one?
I think the pressure's on Delta is what I think it is because BEG, they had a really high fragging game. They kind of came out the gate swinging, and I think Delta, you can't against sort of those high numbers. That says to me aggressive team. I don't know about you, but that says to me aggressive team, which means Delta has to come out swinging just as hard, or they have to be ready to stonewall them, which says to me that sort of Delta's got to run one of two kind of concepts here. You either run the full anchor, like the Maestro, the Kaid, the Bandit, the Legion, these hard anchors that are able to just deny and stonewall them, or they're gonna have to run the Ella, the Jaeger, the Wamai, sort of these more, the Mozzie, these higher aggressive, higher action, better DPS weapons that just in win gunfights. I think they have to choose one or the other. And if Delta is confident in their gun skill, then I definitely see them taking it. But I think it comes down to that. And without anything to sort of go off of with their gun skill, like Monkey said, they just didn't play last week. They didn't. And there's nothing wrong with that. because they got a bye and there is, benefits to that and all that. But because they didn't play last week, I just don't know if they have the gun skill or not. So based on the limited information I have to go with Bearded Dragons. But I'm gonna absolutely give Delta the benefit of the doubt because they're definitely one of the teams that are able to adapt. They're one of those teams that have that sort of not quantifiable statistic of how well can you adapt. Okay, this didn't work. Now we're going to come out with a completely different strategy. And that ability to adapt can win you games against teams that are just mechanically 1,000 times better than you. Mechanically, they might be 1,000 times better than you, but because you're able to adapt and you understand the niches and the nuances of each and every strategy, why operators in certain positions, all of these things, you can definitely beat a team that has that higher mechanical skill. So I definitely think it's gonna be a close one, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be an overtime game. 8-7 Bearded Dragon. That's what I'm gonna say. 8-7.
Hmm. Okay, definitely understand that one. That was actually a good one. So you definitely see the overtime happening on that game just because of Delta Esports. Bearded Dragon, yes, they went against Lunar Esports, and Lunar is not is they're not known for gunning. They're actually known for planting the bomb a little more. They're very precise on having a more of an anchor presence. Um, so it's definitely gonna be a really good matchup against that. But Bearded Dragon is more of a gunner team. So if Delta can actually hold on to to Bearded Dragons and hold on to how they actually pursue a certain matchup, then yeah, I could definitely see that overtime happen. So that's actually a great prediction on that one. And again, they do have somebody waiting for them as well. It's going to actually be Purge. They already actually played their game, so it's going to be Purge versus Team Uprising. Purge take their game
Plague.
7-1. Say again?
Plague. It says plague
Oh,
on
Plague.
the
Sorry. It's
not
actually
purge,
Plague won
plague.
their. So Plague actually won their game against Team Uprising. That was actually 7-1. So Loopy, actually, we haven't talked about that with the team and the community as well. So if you want to jump onto that one, you can go right ahead if you have the screenshots and stuff.
Well, and I'm not muted. Okay, I thought I was muted for like a half a second there. So, we're talking about Plague versus Uprising, right?
Yes.
So it was
Yes.
7-1, and unfortunately, in the screenshot, a couple of players had left early, so we don't know all of their we don't know all of the players' stats, which is just unfortunate. Uh, for us at least, they all know how they did, which is fine for them, but for us, we don't know. But from what I could see from the side of Plague, is they're a really balanced team. The top player, the highest frag player, and the lowest frag player difference was 2, which is pretty unheard of. Like, especially in something like a 7-1, you're sort of expecting in a 7-1 your fraggers to just sort of be the sharks in the water. They get a ton of kills. They just drop the frags. The attackers can't get in the building, or actually they start on an attack. So the defenders can't hold on to sight. The attackers sort of just run through. The roamers drop quick, and all these things. But Plague was able to literally have only a 2 kill difference across the entire thing. We had 9-8-7-7-7, and that is and the top player, not the top fragger, the top player on Plague was one of the people with 7, which says to me that they're absolutely a well-rounded team, which is terrifying. That says to me that no one really has a set role. So you're hot right now, so we're gonna put you on frag. Oh, you're you are our Maestro player, and Maestro is really good against these people because they don't really seem to bring a sledge or anything to really deal with the cameras. So you're going to be playing Maestro today. And that kind of flexibility and adaptability on the fly within the game is something to be said. And the fact that they all were able to just frag out like they did says that not only are they adaptable, but they not only are they adaptable, but they can carry their own in every position. It's not like they have a weak it's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm weak in this position. I can play it, but I'm weak in it." And that's amazing. But no one's perfect, and that's where sort of the issue comes in. A fragger, for the most part, if they are a dedicated fragger, you pick an operator and say, well, you pick a standard frag operator, Zofia, Ash, Sledge, Buck, an operator that either has a fragging potential or is sort of a dedicated fragging operator, and a dedicated fragger should be able to play, should be able to say, yeah, I can play them. Whereas someone who's just all around, let's just say you need a Zofia. All of a sudden, questions started rising. Like, I don't play Zofia. I don't play Zofia. I do, but I have to play Maverick. Well, crap. So who's gonna play Maverick? Like, in that kind of confusion and all of that stuff can just sort of either slow a team down, especially if you change strategies mid game and aren't really sure exactly what operators every single person plays, and that can definitely lead to some issues. So these kinds of teams, if things are going your way, things are really going your way. And that's, I think, what we saw. I think that's what we saw versus Uprising. And that's great for them. So that is, I think, a team that whoever wins this game, I'm obviously talking about the the Bearded Dragon and Delta esports game. Whoever wins it as definitely an opponent to fear on the other side. And that's a good thing on some level. That is a good thing because you always want to be challenged. You want to be pushed. You don't want to breeze through a bunch of brackets. You want to push yourself. You know, you want to play the best team. You want, because if you play the best team and you beat them, then that just makes you feel better. So I'm definitely excited to see sort of who comes out on top of Bearded Dragon versus Delta, because I'm interested to see how they sort of tackle Plague. Any
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, no, I definitely agree with that, man. I don't want to argue with what you were saying before because of the fact of how, again, if they can do that versus Uprising 7-1, especially on a coastline, if they can do it on coastline, that's something that you need to definitely be careful with. And if Bearded Dragon at least gave Lunar Esports 2 rounds already, it's going to be tough. And especially if Delta can give Bearded Dragons a problem, then Bearded Dragon, if they win that matchup, is going to have a big problem on their third round matchup. So, and I just can't wait to see the result on that one. And if Uprising lost to that, it's going to be a big season, especially for this bracket, for bracket number 2. But going on to the next prediction, not even the next prediction, because this is actually one more matchup that we didn't mention to you guys because it happened on passive for the week 1, so they play their bracket already. So it was actually PRS Gaming versus, I think it was five cons. So that was PRS, I think, that winning that game 7-3, and they're going to be moving on and waiting for their next matchup. And for that match, again, Lupe, you can go ahead, man. You're already on a roll, so just continue it.
So first thing's got to be said. PRS Bacon on top, 19 frags. Now, Bacon is one of truly my best friends that I've made through collective. I love him. He's a really close friend, and he was a teammate for a long time. We were both on. For those of you who are definitely a little bit more experienced and older in collective and whatnot, we were both on F6 together. And F6 and Farsight, ironically, so my old team and Monkey's current team were the two oldest teams in collective. F6, unfortunately, due to issues that I don't want to go into at all, disbanded, but all the players are still here, and they are some of the best, my favorite people on this planet. They really are. And I can tell you personally that Bacon is absolutely cracked. He is insane. He's one of the best players I know. He has such good game sense. When he's the guy who you look at and they go, and you're like, oh, why did he push that? Like, why did he throw away his life like that? He shouldn't have put. Wait, he won. Wait, what? It's like watching him play is something else. He just sort of wins fights he shouldn't, and there's just no way around it. And that kind of raw skill and talent and ability to not only do that, but also has a pretty decent ability to lead, even. So, your IGL sort of drops the ball a little bit or isn't really sure what call to make. And he's just sort of able to step up and say, okay, this is what needs to happen. Or because he can see a different perspective because the IGL is obviously a player and is alive and can't see where everyone is on the map, he can sort of make a call like, no, 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 that's wrong. This is what we need to do. And when he can do those things and people listen correctly, and no one overexposes, because I will say he is prone to overexposing himself, unfortunately. But no one's perfect. As long as no one does that and he doesn't fall into that own kind of cycle of himself, he is an absolute menace on the field. And so, like, you look at the scoreboard. He had 19 kills. The next highest player in the entire lobby had eight. At eight, actually, I'm sorry, nine, nine, and that was on the other team. The next highest fragging player on his team was seven. He sort of is he's a sword to be wielded. He's a sword to be wielded. But we did talk about this a little bit earlier, where relying on a player that kind of heavily can be an issue. But I do know that a lot of the other team, like Glamour, Sauce, Haywire, Uzak, they are also all really good players. Haywire and Uzak also were ex teammates on F6, so I do know that they are well adjusted to how Bacon plays and can sort of bounce off of that well. So it's definitely a team to look out for. It's definitely a team to look out for, and I think that their biggest hold, like their sort of biggest mountain to overcome, is sort of that new team. Is sort of Sauce and Glamour they're not used to playing with, and that's okay. Teams adjust and grow, but it's not a nat. They don't have the years of synergy that Bacon has with some of the other players, and can get a little hot headed. Like I said, he sometimes overexposes. So he's definitely, if you can keep him right, he's an amazing player to have, as well as Glamour is also a fantastic player. Sauce is a great mind. Uzak and Haywire are really good players. That whole team is very strong, and I think that if they can get it right, they're a team to watch out for. So I think that's why they won their game. Yeah, and they played on Coastline as well, which, as you alluded to, 7-3 on Coastline is pretty good. Coastline's an interesting map.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And taking 7-3, and just going against the team that he was going against, they are a known threat as well. And beating them 7-3 on a coastline map, especially that's a map that's just total frag, and Bacon proved it to be a frag heavy map. It shows you that they are a force to be messing with. But the thing is that you also have to worry about is remember, and I'm gonna actually put you on this one because you also said that you have a good friends on PRS, but then at the same time your favorite team now is something that they have to worry about because your favorite team is something that they have to wait for. They have to wait for that matchup that's going to be winning against MMG Void or Hazard Gaming. So if MMG Void does, move on and prevail and get that victory over Hazard Gaming, which again we'll talk about the prediction right now. But if they do, they have to focus on facing them. So do you think in the future, of course, we're going to talk about it in the future terms, but do you think PRS Gaming is going to be taking on MMG Void? Do you think that's going to be a possibility, especially that those are two heavy hitting favorite teams for you?
So I honestly don't believe that I'm over exaggerating when I say this, but that game's going to be a battle of titans. That if MMG Void, which we're talking in future tense, can overcome Hazard Gaming, which don't get me wrong, is a fordable mountain they have to climb. That is a very fordable mountain they have to climb. Hazard Gaming is a great team. No, full stop. They are a great team. So they do first have to get through that gauntlet. But if they can get through it and they can overcome Hazard Gaming, PRS and MMG Void is going to be a titan of a game. These just because what it comes down to, sort of in a game like that, is the weird and funky and unique versus sort of the grizzled veteran. It's a little bit of that new versus old, despite them all sort of being older players. Despite them all sort of being older players, MMG Void just sort of has that new agey, no such thing as roles, no such thing as a set strategy, new gaming. Like, a lot of the older teams and in comp in general, a lot of older teams have strategies. They have these roles. They have a set pool of operators they play. Whereas MMG Void sort of threw the entire rule book out and sort of said, no, so it's gonna be a little bit of that old school versus new school that you were talking about, and I think it's going to come down to, is MMG, because of their weird and funky strats, going to be picked apart by the mind of the great minds behind PRS, like Sauce and the talent of some of these other fraggers like Bacon, who dropped 19. Can the mind and the brain and brawn of PRS sort of pick apart the weird strategies that is MMG Void, or are these unique and unusual strategy is just going to be too much for them. I think that's what it comes down to, and I don't think you can really call it one way or the other. I think it comes down to who's on. I think it comes down to who's on that day.
Yeah, definitely well said for that one, especially that how MMG Void has got to play. And again, just going on to that prediction, we talked about the future a little bit too much there, but talking about the present now. And again, MMG Void versus Hazard. The prediction for that game, as I can say, it's going to be hectic because of how I think it feels like it's going to be determined on the map. If they take it to a very closed out map, then I feel like MMG Void will be taking that without a sweep. But the thing is, if they take it to a larger map, let's say if they go to Clubhouse, Cafe, Villa, they go to a bigger map.
Bank, bank, bank,
Bang.
bank, bank.
Yes. And talking about how collective runs things, yes, we're going to be bringing back, old maps like that. So bringing them back into the rotation, bank is a possibility now. So if they go to bank in a map like that, that's very, again, with large, then again, Hazard Gaming does have a chance to actually destroy and annihilate MMG Void just because of the fact that MMG Void is they struggle on bigger maps. They're not bad, but they just struggle on a bigger map. So seeing how they're going to compete, and Hazard is a known team for taking out their problems in bigger maps. Is they're going to be a problem. And if Hazard can actually beat MMG Void, then again, that's going to be even a bigger upset because everybody knows the name. Hey, MMG Void, everybody knows that name. And once that goes out of out the window right there, it's gonna be definitely a big one for PRS, just because of the fact that they haven't done their homework at all on Hazard. So they're gonna be watching and seeing how this scoreboard comes out. And that's another thing that if you do not have streams or VODs to go back to, it makes it even harder. But the thing is about MMG Void, they do have a little bit of VODs to go back to and see how they play out. They do have new team members, yes, but again, they do have familiar faces still on that team. Hazard Gaming does not have any VODs, so that's going to be a little bigger of a homework for these guys to do. And again, it goes for MMG Void as well because they don't know what Hazard Gaming can do. So it's really going to be determining on, hey, we're just going to have to go in here blind and see how we can do against a team that know exactly how we play because they have VODs on us. So for Hazard Gaming, again, it's going to be a matchup for the death. If they go into a bigger map, I definitely see MMG taking that game. But again, pretty close. I am also going to do that prediction of very close game, meaning no overtime, 7-5 for me. But at the same time, if they do go into a smaller map, then I also see them doing what you said before, going into overtime, not going 8-7, but definitely going 8-6. And that'll be MMG taking that one as well.
So you're saying basically your prediction: big map, Hazard; small map, MMG is what I'm understanding.
That's what I'll probably be saying. Again, I love MMG Void. I know how they play and all that stuff. I know everybody there. But if it's a bigger map, I definitely see Hazard taking it 8-6. But if it's a smaller map, I
I
see
can sum it up.
MMG taking it. Yeah, I definitely see MMG taking it 7-5.
I definitely think that's what it comes down to. And with these expanded map pool, there. I can't speak English for those of you who don't know, clearly. Uh,
Found that out now.
yeah, right. Yeah, this has been a giant ruse. I actually been talking through Google Translate.
Oh, there you go.
Ah.
Makes sense.
But with the bigger map pool, we have a lot more big maps in the map pool. So it's a way higher. Sort of back in the day, it really was down to like you could ban out like individually as a team, you could ban out all the big maps. Pretty much. But with this enlarged map pool that we have bank, villa, clubhouse, like the that's three right there, and those are pretty big maps. And then on top of it, we have the wild card of brand new Oregon in there, like brand new Oregon in there. So that's a map that it might not be too big, like square foot wise, but there's a lot of open rooms. I mean, we still have meeting room, which is a pretty wide open room. So it's sort of, despite it not being a huge map square feet wise, it feels like a bigger map, if that makes sense. uh it's kind of hard to explain, but that's four maps that have either the big map feel or just straight up are big maps. And so MMG can't ban them all out. They have to leave one on the field, which means that if Hazard takes that opportunity and sort of goes to one of those maps, I definitely see what you're saying. The bigger map could be what destroys MMG. But let's just say MMG leaves, for example, Bank on the field. and Hazard sort of looks at Bank and is like, yeah, that's a bigger map, but we're just not good at it, then they'll ban it. And I think that gives MMG the edge. I think this game will be won and lost in the ban phase, to be completely honest. I think they are just kind of that tight of a match. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And to best to see it, we're gonna have to wait a couple days. Again, when this podcast comes out, who knows if MMG plays their game? We don't know ahead of time, so I don't want you guys to come back at us in the comment section and be like, yeah, you guys predicted it wrong, even though the podcast came out. And we record this a little, ahead of time, guys. So we actually don't know if MMG Boy will be winning their game up. So that's why the predictions are very important. And obviously for next week, we'll be coming back and touching upon these predictions as well and the actual outcomes of the game. And when that happens, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with, just because of the fact that we don't know who's going to move on. This whole week of games is going to be very unpredictable. We don't know who's going to make it. It could be very a crunch time of a push to, hey, if you make it, you maybe make Masters now, maybe. Or if you don't make it, then this could be a chance that you don't make Masters. Who really knows? So it really determines about these matches. This is why it's very important if FMG wins their game. This is why it's very important that, like Bearded Dragon wins their game if possible. Like these guys really want to make it to Masters, and you never know at any moment that these games can be very crucial. That's why it's always the best of their ability to win every game possible, because you never know the outcome of it. And that being said, I know we're probably running short on time, so we're going to try to speed it up as much as we can. And we're going to be talking about the next topic, so you guys can also know. We're going to be talking about the question of the week. So, of course, the question of the week, guys. The first question of the week, so you can know from episode 1, was what if giving frags to Maverick was a good idea or not. I told you guys at home or people listening to probably answer that question for your own self. If you guys wanted to respond to us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube itself, we ask you guys to answer those questions as much as you can. So for that week, that question of the week, it was actually a good thing to give. That's what you guys were saying. A big majority of you guys were saying that Mav is actually a good reason to give him grenades, just because of the fact that now that he can make a hole when he's bandit tricking, he can make a hole. Let's think of what's it called? Let's think of a map like let's say Canal. The ranks. We go to Canal, for example. When you go to Canal, you make a hole onto the balcony. Let's say on the top left of the wall, you can easily just make a little small hole, or even Clubhouse make a little small hole, and you can just literally throw a grenade and it can take away Bandit entirely, or just take away his Bandit charges instead of you actually risking your whole entire torch to actually, um, get him off the wall. So people were saying that's actually a good idea to give him grenades. And there was also some amount of the people were also saying that it's actually a bad idea, because it also gives him more of a capacity to frag out even more now, instead of even being a threat of him maving. It's actually now you have to worry about putting a Jaeger device or a Lamai disc right next to the bandit now, because of how dangerous he can be with those grenades. So what do you think, Loopy?
I think giving Maverick frags to me has nothing to do with it being Maverick in general. My feeling of no, first off, my feeling is Maverick no should not have frags is two things, and neither one necessarily has to do with the fact that it's Maverick and more of who Maverick is. One, he's a 3 speed. The last every time we've had a 3 speed with frags, they've been taken away because that operator's been way too strong. Capitao, IQ. Both 3 speeds that had a ton of utility. Maverick already has a ton of utility, and then you give him frags. So that's issue number one. And issue number two is he's a hard breacher. Yes, I can already hear you screaming. Maverick's not a hard breacher. Okay, he can get through a hard wall. He's a hard breacher. I don't care what you say. But the thing is that Thermite, way back on release, had frags, and the reason he got them taken away was because he could do too much. He could take out the bandit, like you said, he could take out the bandit, and it's sort of, it's a little bit different nowadays because we are in a different time, not release, but back in the day, they said that basically made Thatcher obsolete. Thermite could get rid of the bandit slash mutes and just go through. Now, the one thing I will say on the counter argument for that, play a little bit of devil's advocate, is Maverick can already get through mute jammers and bandit tricks. So there is that as well, and I definitely think that that makes that problem a little bit less so. But imagine you have a Maverick to do X, Y, or Z, but then you don't bring a Thatcher, you don't bring a Cali, you don't bring these operators a Buck, you don't bring all these operators that are good at taking out bandit tricks and bandit charges and all that fun stuff, and you just say, open up a little hole at the bottom left or right of the wall as Maverick, throw a frag through it, and then put your thermite or Habana and say, "Hey, open up the wall." So now not only can he get through reinforced walls, but can also play sort of Thatcher's role as well. That just seems too much to me. And I don't think we should have a hard breacher with frags, at least in my opinion, my humble opinion. What about you, Monkey? What's your opinion?
It's again, it's very iffy. It's very in between. It's yes, having grenades is very powerful, especially being a three speed, so it can really cause a lot of damage. Especially again, I love how the community brought up the idea of making the holes on the walls and then throwing grenades right through them, because now you have to also rely on one focusing on the map, making holes. Then you have to also focus on having an ADS there, because if not, then the grenade's gonna kill your bandit. And
Or a
then also have
frisbee,
to worry about say again.
or a frisbee.
Exactly, or a frisbee there, but why? And then you also have to worry about, let's say, if Mav has to push in you aggressive. Let's say if he makes a Mav hole, makes you think he's going to be throwing a grenade, and then he just rotates from the flank because he's a three speed. He can literally just rotate as quick as possible to your on your flank. So he's very dangerous in every way. So I feel like the grenade is something that he shouldn't have probably not have. Maybe keeping him with Claymore. Even the Claymore was a little too brawlic for him, but a lot of people didn't even use it in that term, because you could just make a math hole in the bottom of the wall anymore and put one of the laser beams to go through the hole. It's it's pretty dangerous in that way, but it's still
It's
flashbang is something that
satisfying
he
to get kills.
yes,
It's
it definitely was
satisfying.
satisfying. I definitely see him, maybe. I don't see him having a breaching charge because I mean breaching charge, yeah, breaching charge just because the fact that he has a Mav, but maybe giving him breaching charges, I guess, a better idea just because the fact that maybe you don't want to waste your torches on something. Because think about Clubhouse, you have to always save all those torches for hatches, let's say. So maybe give a breaching charge for certain disabilities. You don't want to waste castles on being your torches. So maybe you want to give breaching charges for that case. Who knows? But again, having grenades on my part is something that's probably dangerous for him. But
Hear me out.
okay,
Maverick with smokes. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Chill, chill.
dangerous, dangerous. Next topic. We're gonna get Loopy out of here because this man's off track. Um, but definitely the question, guys, for you is so the question of the week for this one is now, guys. Looking at the bracket, I'm gonna put the bracket up for you guys that can see it on the screen. But you guys that are listening, hopefully you guys paid attention to still on the bracket and who's on the list. But who do you think will make finals? So that's gonna be the question of the week. Who do you think will make finals? Okay, we're not gonna answer that. We'll bring it back up next week, of course. But I want you guys to answer that, of course. I told you on anything that you guys are listening from. If you guys hear us on Spotify, hear us on iTunes, you hear us on YouTube. On YouTube, put it in the comment section. If you guys are hearing us on Spotify and iTunes, go to like I said, on Twitter, Instagram. You guys, we're all over the place. So make sure you guys are paying attention. We're on Collective Esports, so you guys can go ahead and just leave us a comment. Leave us what you guys think and what you guys hear and what you guys are predicting of who you think is going to win the finals. It doesn't have to be the score. It doesn't have to be anything like that. Just talk about who. Doesn't matter. All right. Doesn't matter whatever team it is. But Loopy, of
And we are
course,
talking about finals, which means pick two teams. Not
yes.
saying who takes the whole thing.
Hmm.
So pick your two teams and make sure they're one from each bracket. Like once
Hmm.
again, I will just do a quick run through just so those who don't have something in front of them can see. Bracket one is we have Witch Doctor Gaming, Farside Bravo, Team Unit Gaming, Reborn Esports, Tag Team, Extinction, and Fallen Pharaohs. On bracket number two, we have Delta, Bearded Dragon, Team Uprising, I'm sorry, no, not Team Uprising, my bad. We have Delta, Bearded Dragon, Plague, PRS, MMG Void, Hazard Gaming. Those are the teams we have left.
Yeah, guys. So definitely make your predictions. See who's gonna make it to finals. It can be two teams you want to put in. Two teams are even better, so we can actually work with that. If you think there's not going to be two teams, if you wanted to say one team, go for it. Really up to you, but we do prefer the two teams. But again, it's up to you guys. And yeah, just keep us posted, guys. Keep us up and noted as well. Also, feedback is also wonderful from you guys. If you guys give us a thumbs up, let us know what we're doing good, what we're doing bad. Because more bads that we do, then of course we'll probably end the podcast a little short. But the more goods that we're doing, we could bring more podcasts, more news to you guys, and keep you guys informed of almost everything. But of course, with time already falling, I'm going to end the podcast right here. Of course, this has been Monkey keeping you guys informed, and also my lovely co-host Loopy keeping you guys lovely informed as well. So definitely kudos to you guys. And Loopy, you guys, anything to say? Any quote of the day you want to say?
Greg, get out of the building.
All righty, Craig. You can leave the building, Craig, and catch you guys on the flip side.